Good morning. Okay, good morning. Welcome to this windy morning in Napoleon Container Terminal. Well, good morning and thank you everyone for joining us here today for a significant step forward in our efforts for sustainability here at the Port of New Orleans. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Biden administration and our federal delegation for this generous $7.1 million grant from the Federal Highway Administration's Reducing Truck Emissions at Port Facilities RTEP program that is funded by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. You know, this grant is truly a testament to this administration's commitment to slowing down global climate change, and we are incredibly thankful for their continued partnership and their confidence in our endeavors here at the Port of New Orleans. In particular, we are truly grateful that the Federal Highway Administrator, Shailen Bhatt, is here today to join us to mark this special occasion and to share more about RTEP, its impact here in New Orleans, but also broadly across the country. The Port of New Orleans, as well as the state of Louisiana, has had a very strategic focus on reducing environmental impacts and environmental initiatives across the state and decarbonization across the supply chain. And with this funding, we will be able to implement a range of initiatives that are aimed at reducing truck congestion and emissions, but at the same time fostering economic growth. From an infrastructure perspective, we will be able to implement 7 electric terminal tractors at each of our container terminals, associated charging structures that will be installed to support the infrastructure, both at the New Orleans terminal as well as Ports America LLC Louisiana here at the Napoleon Container Terminal. But while we implement this infrastructure, we also recognize that sustainability goals require collaboration, and they require partnerships across sectors to ensure that our efforts are innovative, that they're inclusive, and that they're impactful. So to that end, I'm also pleased to share that Nunez Community College in St. Bernard Parish will also receive $100,000 to support the Port's environmental justice and sustainability efforts. And that's a unique element to our grant award. I want to thank Nunez Vice Chancellor Cherie LaRocca for being here today to represent the Nunez College on behalf of Chancellor Dr. Tina Tinney. And further, the Urban League will receive $100,000 to strengthen awareness and promote maritime, logistics, and construction jobs and careers, and offer apprenticeships and programs for career seekers in St. Bernard Parish that are looking to increase access to the high-paying jobs in the maritime field and those in the underserved communities. So many thanks to Vice President Tyronne Walker, who is here this morning on behalf of Urban League's President Judy Reese-Moore to share their community impacts. And finally, Entergy New Orleans. They will provide in-kind services and employee support for installation of the charging stations and infrastructure associated with the project. We are most grateful to Entergy New Orleans, President Deanna Rodriguez, for being here today, and mostly for your ongoing valued partnership, not only for this project, but for everything that you've helped us to do here at Napoleon Container Terminal. Now, looking ahead, our vision is very clear. It's to be a global leader in sustainable port operations. And that's really important as we continue to develop the $1.8 billion Louisiana National Terminal in St. Bernard Parish. We are focused on forward-looking state-of-the-art systems that help plan for potential energy innovations that can help reduce air impacts. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge our Port of New Orleans employees who are at the heart of everything that we do. And their dedication to sustainability is truly inspiring and has helped us get to this point today with this grant. Together, we remain committed to continuous improvement and innovation. and always striving to raise the bar for environmental performance and social responsibility in the maritime community. Thank you, and now it is my pleasure to introduce Federal Highway Administrator Shailen Bhatt.
Thank you, and thank you for that kind introduction. I was talking with Brandy and Julia earlier, lovely human beings and very nice, but then they started talking about the challenges of having an event like this on a windy day and the impacts on their hair, and I was like, I'm here. I don't know if you are understanding that, but did a great job with that, and thank you for your hospitality. The other thing that Brandy talked to me a lot about beforehand was all of the goods that are both coming in to the Port of New Orleans and goods that are being shipped out, plastics and other things. I think Folgers is in this facility over here and as a coffee aficionado. I know the best part of waking up is something that may be coming out of the Port of New Orleans or coming in. But as a Federal Highway Administrator, I would say I think when most Americans think about the Federal Highway Administration, they think about their commute, they think about a long family trip. They don't necessarily think about freight or ports. And, under COVID, I think a lot of Americans began thinking about ports and supply chain and the critical impacts that these facilities have. And so, the last few weeks, actually, I guess the last 6 weeks or so, I've been spending a lot of time in Baltimore, the Port of Baltimore, the terrible tragedy with the bridge that collapsed there. And a lot of people are focusing on the bridge and how we're going to rebuild the bridge, and we are going to rebuild the bridge, but the impacts to the port, the workers that work there, it's critical. And so, for all of the people who are working here, that is the great part about these reducing truck emissions and ports grants that we're making, $148 million nationwide, $7.1 million, because whether you work at the port and you get to move all of these incredibly important goods around here, or you live adjacent to a port, we want to make sure in the 21st century that we're not saying that supply chain is important, but air quality is not. And so that's why we love ports like New Orleans, who have already been leaders in sustainability. And with this grant, with 14 of the heavy-duty vehicles that are going to be replaced with the electric vehicles, you won't have that same level of emissions. I think it's about 15% of the fleet. I already got a plug for another chunk of the fleet for future rounds of funding that are available. That's not how we do that, but I want to congratulate. I spent a lot of time with Mitch Landrieu. Maybe it's just in the air down here, but he's also a pretty strong plugger, if I can say that, for infrastructure. And so I appreciate the robustness. And then lastly, I think the other critical piece here is the workforce development, right? So I think that is also part of the president's agenda. We're not just going to build projects, but we're also going to impact people, and carving out from that $7.1 million, $200,000 to do workforce development. So we're training people and providing that next generation. I think that's what we're focused on, providing infrastructure, providing good paying jobs, and then sustaining the supply chain as it goes forward. So really excited for this $7.1 million grant, really excited for your mega grant. See, if that was an electric vehicle, you wouldn't hear it. It would just be humming along behind you, right? So, but also excited for your mega and infra grants for $300 million for a new facility, and just really excited to see what the Port of New Orleans continues to do. So thank you very much. And with that, I will introduce Commissioner Fisher-Cormier to follow up. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm hoping the wind will give me a break just for a second. But just want to say thank you to the Port of New Orleans, Brandy, the commissioners for including me in this announcement of this great project. This is a really good example of a well thought out initiative. The energy addition or transition, whatever you want to call it, is still very much an anomaly in many ways. However, in Louisiana, this is proof that we are bold enough to try new things and we have the wherewithal to execute. So we want to improve our way of life while sustaining our foundation of industry, and this will do just that. So this was very forward-thinking, especially as Brandy mentioned, the dedication of a portion of the funding that goes toward job development. It's a multifaceted approach, if you ask me. The multimodal Office of Commerce is multifaceted as well, and we're moving towards something that looks like that right now. Governor Landry and the transition team have made that vision very clear. That ports our strengths and priorities in Louisiana, so we're going to work toward the addition of a new program and approach the funding and assisting our heaviest hitters on the water with that. Our current port priority program has funded less than $1 billion in port projects since 1989. That sounds like a big number. However, that's a drop in the bucket compared to some of the recent capital improvements we've seen in the region. These cranes alone, can tap out at 15, 20 million apiece. So 40 million annually for 30 plus ports to share is really not enough, and we recognize that from the state level. And if we're going to compete, we've got to collaborate. We've got to collaborate on development and in a more sophisticated manner. So we've got to strategize together, and hopefully we will do that soon. Not to discredit our current priority program, we've actually funded several things right around us here. The Nashville terminal, we most recently through Port Priority helped with the electrification upgrades there. So again, we've got to think bigger. I think this is a good step toward that. I look forward to the future of the Louisiana ports and what's ahead for all of us. I'd like to congratulate the Port of New Orleans on this big overhaul and this exciting step toward a greener port. Governor Landry, the Office of Multimodal Commerce, transition team members, which we do have one here today, are dedicated to working together with the ports to create a better Louisiana and harness that strength that we've got right here in the Mississippi River. Thanks for having me, and congrats. And now, I will introduce Vice Chancellor of Nunez Community College, Dr. LaRocca, Dr. Cherie LaRocca.
Good morning. I always stand in awe of our industry partners, and being invited here today and having some time just to take in the river. I hail from St. Bernard Parish, and so the river was in my backyard every day, and I don't think people truly understand the impact that we have not only on our local economy, but our global economy. And so Nunez Community College serves our community by offering academic credentials and workforce trainings. While we're thrilled to partner with this endeavor with the Port of New Orleans and provide logistical and maritime training, as a college, we are focused on sustainable energy as well, and we look to train to support diversified infrastructures. We stand ready to train for the jobs of today and the careers of tomorrow. And with that, I'd like to introduce Tyronne Walker, Vice President for Policy, Strategic Partnerships, and Development with Urban League of Louisiana.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I want to first thank and recognize Administrator Bhatt. Thank you so much for this investment in New Orleans. Brandy Christian, a great partner of the Urban League of Louisiana, great leader in New Orleans and our region. Deanna Rodriguez, what can we say more about Entergy New Orleans, one of our greatest corporate and business leaders in the city, and to Walt Leger and all the Port of New Orleans board members. And my friend, JT Hannon is here with the governor's office. He's a great friend of New Orleans and our region. It's good to see you. And last person I want to recognize, and this is important for us, in his absence, Congressman Troy Carter, our congressman, for always championing these type of projects and being a great partner for many of us friends here today. This is an exciting day because it gives New Orleans an opportunity once again to show how we are and continue to be one of the greatest economic engines for growth in the state of Louisiana. However, the Greater New Orleans region, rich in talent and natural resources, we cannot reach our full economic potential until we create an economy that works for all. That requires eliminating the racial and economic barriers that have kept many black and brown communities from fully sharing in the region's economy. Louisiana's workforce is changing, as it was related to earlier today. Fewer than 60% of Louisiana adults aged 25 to 64 are in the workforce, a participation rate that trails the national average. This is often due, unfortunately, to systemic issues within our economy that causes too many people to drop out of the labor force, and because of low wages that discourages some people from getting in and seeking jobs. Additionally, despite the fact that Louisiana's unemployment rate continues to decrease, Louisianians, unfortunately, are more likely than most Americans to become disconnected from the workforce. Understanding and removing barriers that keep our workers from being able to be fully committed to the economy is an important step in the right direction. Workers in Louisiana have become more productive over time in our state, but this increased worker productivity has not often led to increase in wages. That's why this investment by the Biden administration and the Federal Highway Administration and the port is so important to our local economy and the local workforce. According to the National Urban League's State of Black America report released earlier this year, President Biden took office in 2021 and our unemployment rate for African Americans was at 9.2%. And January of 2024, that unemployment rate shrunk all the way down to 5.2%. Through a series of bills and investments, many of which the administrator has referenced and Brandy referenced today, we are moving in the right direction all across this country. And the investments in this project and so many more provides another pathway for jobs with strong wages and pathways to careers for our workers to grow wealth. With this investment from the Biden administration and the port and the Highway Administration, Urban League of Louisiana is excited to help the port and its environmental justice and sustainability efforts. We will work alongside our great partners at Nunez Community College again to ensure that the workers are aware of the 21st century maritime logistics and construction careers that will exist already in New Orleans and nearby partners in St. Bernard Parish. And this will give us a really unique opportunity, lastly, to expand the Urban League of Louisiana's successful Career Pathways program to offer apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship programs to career seekers in underserved communities in both in Orleans and St. Bernard parishes. And finally, I close by, on behalf of our President and CEO, Judy Reese-Morse, I want to thank Brandy again and the port for their leadership and for partnering, as was mentioned by the Commissioner earlier, from the state with a diverse group of state and local partners to put together a package that will not only improve and build upon one of the greatest assets we have in New Orleans and our region, which is our port, but it also gives us an opportunity to partner with business and industry leaders to create new jobs that have sustainable wages and gives our workers a pathway for building generational wealth. Thank you all for having us, and again, it's my honor to introduce a great leader in New Orleans, the CEO of Entergy New Orleans, Deanna Rodriguez.
Thank you, Tyronne. Deanna Rodriguez, and I'm so excited to be here, and I love that my hair can be messy on purpose, so I'm thrilled to be here. But I want to thank Brandy and the port team, and certainly the administrator, that if you've met Mitch Landry and you've spent any time around him, I'm probably shameless in my appreciation and my plugs that I'll make for further support of what we're trying to do in the city of New Orleans. So thank you for what you've done, but you've got a lot more to get done with us. I also want to thank the state leadership. Sorry for that, I had to do it. And we'll talk over coffee since we know you like it so much. But I appreciate everyone here. I also want to thank Senator Bill Cassidy and Congressman Cherie Carter. We need to thank them both for their continued support. We also want everyone to know that we know that this is an ongoing effort. It is just the beginning. Entergy New Orleans stands ready, Brandy, to help you in any way that we can. Our goal for this city is to electrify it and make it green and more sustainable and also more resilient. And when we do that, we talk about infrastructure, we have to talk about business, and we have to talk about jobs. So we're thrilled to have this as a great example of our partnership and what we can do going forward. We appreciate everything that the state is doing to support the port. That was funny, right? I didn't realize how that would sound, but I think it's important that that support continues in the continuity of and consistency of what we're all focused on is making New Orleans better and making it more important and relevant in the world, which it already is, but I don't know that everyone realizes that. So we're excited to set that example. I also want to emphasize the importance of Entergy New Orleans in our
workers. It is important that everyone understand what we're trying to do in terms of making the city more resilient, not just for the sake of the port, but for the sake of the country. With that, I'd like to hand it back to Brandy and have her close us out, but I'm really excited to be here, and I will ask anyone for money to support these kinds of things, and I'll go on doing that as long as I'm here. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you to all of our speakers, and also would like to recognize our terminal operators, Ports America and New Orleans terminals, their commitments to this efforts, but their operations and the investments they've made in growing this facility. It really has been a partnership, and I cannot echo enough. The Port of New Orleans is not just an agency. What you see here today, this operation, this doesn't happen by itself. The Port of New Orleans, it's really a partnership. And what we've really tried to do over the last several years is expand that partnership. Much like what Tyronne said, it's about being more inclusive and bringing in more stakeholders so that there's greater benefit. Because to build an operation that is for the future, looks at new technologies, looks at bringing in new skill sets and new opportunities for everyone, it really takes more partners at the table. So we are incredibly grateful for the partners that are here today, to our federal delegation, to the Federal Highway Administrator for being here today to celebrate with us, and to all of you for being here today to celebrate this momentous occasion. And you're exactly right, this is just the beginning, the first step. This is our ongoing commitment to continue to green our operations and to move forward with our sustainability and workforce development efforts. Again, thank you for being here today.